Hello friends, today we're looking at the Nintendo Switch. Sometimes I'll get questions about how usable the Switch and particularly the Switch Lite are if you're visually impaired, especially from members of the albinism community. So let's talk about it. So, which is better from a low vision perspective? Short answer, the regular Switch, the OLED if it's in your budget, but let me explain. First, let's run over the accessibility features that the Switch provides for those of us that are visually impaired. There aren't really a lot of them. You really only have access to a zoom feature and the ability to invert or grayscale the colors. Now, there may be some additional built-in accessibility features in some games, but this is what the console gives you. There are no features like text-to-speech or voiceover, you can't adjust the text size or anything else about the text, and you can't adjust the contrast. To activate or adjust these two features, go to System Settings, scroll down to System, and scroll down until you see Change Display Colors and zoom right underneath it. Like I mentioned earlier, with Change Display Colors, you have the option of inverting the colors or grayscaling the display colors. The section to activate the zoom feature is right underneath the Change Display Color settings. To activate zoom, you double tap the home button, and it'll enlarge a section of your screen. You can move where this section is by using your left joystick, you can increase and decrease the zoom using the X and Y buttons, and you can lock the section that is zoomed in by pressing the home button once. While this isn't the most useful in fast-paced games, I found it incredibly useful for reading text, especially because some games have text that's uncomfortable for fully sighted people to see, let alone me. It's also good for looking at stationary objects. The Switch has by far the fewest accessibility features of the three major consoles. If that's a deal breaker for you, I recommend looking over at Xbox or PlayStation, particularly Xbox. They have a larger assortment of features from what I've seen. Now let's talk about screen size. So the Switch has a 6.2-inch LCD display, while the Switch Lite has a 5.5-inch LCD display. For reference, those are about the sizes of the iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 mini respectively. So assuming that a game hasn't been optimized for the Switch Lite's smaller screen, that means the text on the Switch Lite will be about 10% smaller than the text on the Switch. The newer Switch OLED has a larger 7-inch OLED display, and this OLED display allows for better color contrast, making it the best out of these three consoles for reading or playing anything in handheld mode. The Switch and the Switch OLED do give you a good amount of more screen real estate than the Switch Lite does, though I don't think this difference is too significant. But the primary reason why the full-size Switches are better for low-vision users is that given the limited amount of accessibility features on the console itself, your best bet for seeing what you need to see is to dock the system, and the Switch Lite lacks this functionality, so you're stuck with that smaller screen. So, we've established that the Switch and the Switch OLED are better options, but can you use the Switch Lite if you're visually impaired? As always, that depends on your vision. For me and a lot of people with albinism, where our visual problems lies is in the details. So my close-up vision is much better than my far-away visions. I struggle with things that are too far away or too small, or in areas that are too bright. I have no blind spots, no visual field issues, etc. So for me personally, I enjoy playing both my Switch and Switch Lite in handheld mode. I'll just bring the screen closer to my face. That's what I'm used to and how I've always played games. Honestly, compared to the small screen on the Nintendo DS, even the Switch Lite is a massive improvement. And if you're used to playing games the way that I do, you can totally get away with the Switch Lite. I just wouldn't recommend it. On the other hand, the Switch Lite may not be for you if you struggle sometimes even with the screen on the regular Switch, or you just prefer to have your console connected to a monitor or TV. The Switch lineup in general may not be for you if you need some of the accessibility features that the Xbox and PlayStation provides that aren't available on the Switch. So, if I were to make a recommendation to somebody who's visually impaired that wants a Switch, I would recommend the Switch over the Switch Lite, and I would recommend the Switch OLED if you plan on playing in handheld a lot. The docking feature makes it a much better choice than the Switch Lite, given the limited amount of vision-specific accessibility features on the console itself. Don't get me wrong, I don't want this video to come off as a Nintendo hit piece. I originally got into gaming thanks to Nintendo's handhelds and consoles. The more artistic direction that they took their games made them easier for me to play with my vision. Even today, Nintendo's first-party games are easier for me to play in their base form than the more photorealistic games that Xbox and PlayStation have. And I'm grateful for that. But I would be lying if I said that having options like text-to-speech in more text-heavy games, or the option to make the text on the base console bigger, wouldn't make the experience of using it more enjoyable. When it comes to making the console more accessible for people that have visual impairments, I think they still have a ways to go. That's it. So, for today's question, what kind of games do you guys like playing that are fairly accessible for people that have low vision? I'm always looking for suggestions. On my end, two of my favorite games are Animal Crossing, which is fairly easy to see in most cases, and then Splatoon is great too. If you want to know my opinions on the Kindle Paperwhite, click to the left. And if you want to leave your next video up to chance, click to the right. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.